Hi, this is Mark Stewart. Welcome to the fourth in my series on the long-term effects of bullying and how it can affect you and other victims of bullying years or even decades after you leave the bullies behind. This is also a part of the promotion for my book coming up in March, Names Will Hurt Me, Healing for Victims of Bullying. The book is divided into three sections. The first section gives some research statistics on the long-term effects of bullying and uses my story to illustrate how those effects can manifest themselves in the lives of adults. The second section of the book continues the idea of manifestation, but deals with it as the idea of four personas or coping mechanisms in the way that they show up in people's lives. The third section of the book is about the healing process. So let's turn a corner from the first section of the book now into the second section of the book. And I'm going to divide these four personas into two different videos. Let's talk about the first two. First of all, I want to talk about the underachiever. If you are an underachiever, I probably don't need to tell you you're an underachiever. Nobody needs to really illustrate it. You know that you're an underachiever. You know that because of the bullying, you feel like you aren't worthy of success, you aren't worthy of love or friendship. The low self-esteem that the bullies try to instill in you is firmly in place, and you know that you have so much potential that you are not fulfilling. Nobody needs to tell you that you're an underachiever. You're more than aware of it. An underachiever will often not even try to get a better life. Mostly because you fear failing. You've been told that you were stupid. You've been told maybe that you were fat or ugly or a wimp like they told me or whatever it is they called you. But the underlying thing was you are not worthy of love. You aren't worthy of success. You're not smart enough. Something. Well, you're lacking somewhere. So you may not even try. For example, you might decide you want to go for a college degree, but you don't bother to even try to go for that degree because you don't think you can do it. Or you get an opportunity for an advancement at work, but you don't take that opportunity because that would mean more responsibility. It might even mean supervising others. And how can you supervise others when you're not even that good at managing your own time, or at least you don't feel like you are? The flip side of that is that you take failures out of context. And one failure means that you are a failure. Let's go back to the first examples, these two examples I used. First of all, the college degree. You take a few classes, you do well in those classes, you start getting a little bit of confidence, and then you hit that one really tough class that a lot of people struggle with, and you fail it or get a D, and it's just not enough. You're going to have to retake it. But instead of looking back at the classes you succeeded at and realized it's just one class, you take it much further than that. You failed that class, therefore you are a failure. And you give up. Or the same thing with the work. You decide that you are going to try to take on that extra responsibility, but you're scared to confront others. You don't have enough self-confidence to deal with discipline problems, and you don't really deal with them properly, and then you fail at that job. Therefore, you're a failure. Anything that happens where you even have a minor failure or setback is just validating what they told you, that you are a failure, because inside you don't really feel like you're ever going to be a success. Now, on the flip side of that in some ways is the overachiever. It would seem like it's in direct opposition for the underachiever. But if it's because of the bullying, it's not. A lot of people who are bullied decide that they are going to do something with their lives, but the problem is they still have that low self-esteem. They still believe and internalize that message that they were worth less than everyone else, and that they were not worthy of love or acceptance or friendship. But they don't want to admit that. They don't want to deal with that. And so in order to cover it up, they bury themselves in activity. That could be at school, or it really shows up at work, where they put in more hours than everybody else. And they get busy, 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 busy all the time. They are running and they are working, and they become workaholics. And that creates more problems than it really solves. First of all, they're not dealing with the underlying low self-esteem. They're not dealing with their issues. They're not dealing with the anxiety and the depression that they really still struggle with inside. They're just keeping busy. And they might even really crave the pats on the back. See, when you're overachiever, everybody is at work is just happy with your performance. You come in earlier than everybody else. You leave later than everybody else. You put in twice as much work and you succeed, and everybody's telling you how wonderful you are. And the more they tell you how wonderful you are, the more they validate you as a person. You don't feel valued internally, so you seek validation externally. And not only do you get value from them telling you how wonderful you are, but as you climb that corporate ladder, or whatever it is that you're going career-wise, as you climb that ladder, it also comes with more financial success. So therefore, you can also point to the big house and the cars and all the trappings and things that come with that and say that you're a success. But often overachievers struggle in their home life because they don't have a work-life balance. There is no balance because of that low self-esteem. They're working all the time. They don't have enough time for their families normally. You often see these people with the relationships with their children that aren't healthy. In fact, I know one person, he wasn't doing it because of bullying. He just happened to be a workaholic. But he was a former boss of mine, and he had told me he was almost retirement age, and he told me that his relationship with his children, even though they were adults, still only revolved around money. They didn't bother to come to see him just because they wanted to see him. They only contacted him when they wanted money, even as adults. And they brought the grandkids to see him and to spend time with him when they wanted something, because that's what he had set up. He wasn't there for their recitals. He wasn't there for their soccer games or their baseball games or anything else. He was only there to provide a paycheck. Other than that, they didn't see him that much. He averaged, he told me, almost 70 hours a week. That left very little time for anything else. The overachiever is constantly in danger of burnout because that many hours takes its toll. And the problem is it's like a house of cards. They build this piece of success, another piece of success, but it's an empty shell. It doesn't take much. And all of a sudden it collapses. One major illness, or they do burn out and they have to simply stop for a while, and all of a sudden they can't just hide in their busyness anymore. They have to deal with themselves, especially if it's an illness, maybe a heart attack, because that often happens when they just push their bodies too far. Now they have to actually deal with their internal mess, and they've never dealt with that. They've always just covered it up. It's not a healthy way of living. Yeah, it looks successful on the outside, but even when they are in the middle of the success, if they're alone and they're with their thoughts, they may often struggle with the feelings of depression, anxiety. They've got it covered up. But that's not fixing the problem. And as I turn to the third section of the book, after the next two, the people pleaser and the punisher, as I turn to the last section of the book, I'm not going to be able to cover everything in detail because these are short videos, and I go into a lot more detail in the book, but I will hit the highlights. You can really deal with what's inside. You can deal with the pain. You can deal with the memories. You can deal with the anger. You can deal with the low self-esteem. You don't have to deal with or live with anxiety, depression. You don't have to have these things plague you. You can have a life that is more balanced. You can achieve, not in between these two. You don't have to overachieve. You can achieve success on your terms. You can have enough success in your career that you can have a decent house. You can have, what you want out of life, but also maintain a balance and have healthy relationships. It is possible. I know because I've made it. It wasn't easy, but I did it. And I struggled a lot with the underachieving for years and had to finally go back to school and finish my bachelor's degree and my master's degree after flunking out. And I spent years tumbling down and just destroying my life. And that that just was like a cloud over me. And then when I first got the master's degree, for a little while, I was like a bulldog. I was that overachiever. But it didn't take very long for me to realize that was empty. And I had already done a lot of healing. And I thought I was past everything. And I was really making some headway. I was like, oh, now I'm going to go get the trappings. I'm going to go get the big house and the car and things. But I realized as I started down that road that it wasn't healthy. And I had healed enough to realize that wasn't where I wanted to go. And I backed off. And I've often turned down some possibilities at work for the right reasons, because it would have taken 60, 70 hours a week, and I refused to do that. And my priority was a work-life balance. You can have both. You can have success. You can have a life at home. You can have whatever's most important to you. Maybe the career success is more important to you. If that's what you want, you can have it. But you need to do it for the right reasons. You can have a healthy relationship. You can have friendships and things that you enjoy and people that you enjoy spending time with. It's possible. I know, because I made it through and I found better ways of living. And again, I will show you. Thank you for taking the time to watch these videos. I hope that you continue to watch, and that as we turn the corner after this next video, so the next one's going to deal with the people pleaser and the punisher. If you struggle with the anger and the low self-esteem, especially if you struggle with the anger, you really need to watch this next video, because this one will destroy you from the inside out and destroy everything around you if not dealt with. So I invite you to come watch this next one and then stick with me as we turn a corner again and go into the healing. Thank you for watching these videos, and I look forward to talking to you again.